So, hello there, everybody, and people tuning in. It's really nice to see you. I'm Martin Cross. On Crossy's Corner today, we have the amazing Alan Campbell, Britain's bronze medalist single sculler from the 2012 Olympics.
Amazing. It's not a word that I hear described about me recently. So it's not, it's just like I'm a father and a husband now, and so it's and I was obviously when I was rowing, but it's more like can you just hang your trousers up, or can you just why are you taking up all this space and everything else? So no, it's very nice of you to say that, Martin. So thank you, and good morning, and hello to everyone that's obviously tuning in and listening, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning, Martin.
That's brilliant. Now, let's just sort out where you are, because you seem to be in I can see a picture of you with your arms aloft in the
so,
like a man cave.
Yeah, so I'm in my home office, or effectively what is just a dumping ground for all the stuff that doesn't sort of qualify for being in the house. So there is some pictures of me in the background. So that was a painting that was done after Diamonds 2003. It's got a little poem on the bottom of it, but yeah, so it's I've got the Great Eight sort of signed poster up there. Something that was put into one of the papers when I went into banking straight afterwards. The freedom of the City of London, and obviously I've got all my tools, so it's like very important. And this is me just at the end of the garden. You can sort of see the house here, and then I've got my home office, my computer here. So it's very different, Martin. I don't get blisters any longer. I don't have little hacks on the back of my calves from the runners or slides or anything there. It's it's repetitive strain injury from typing emails to people and all that. So I work in financial services now. So I originally, when I left after Rio, I went to Citibank. I did an internship there. And then after that, I was at Santander in corporate banking. And then obviously living in Henley, very unoriginal for a rower, obviously, to live in Henley. I genuinely moved for the last year of the Olympics. So in 2015, my daughter Tabitha, she was 1 at the time, and I just was there going, I can be more help if I'm closer to home, able to get back from training quicker. So we moved then. I had grand designs we'd go back to London, but after that year, I think my wife was like, no, we're staying in Henley. It's beautiful here, and stuff. So we have stayed here. And so Invesco, which is an asset manager, if you want me to kill the podcast and talk all about that and put everyone to sleep, I'm more than happy to do so. But it's just, we talk about Brexit, the US election, all that sort of stuff. So I do sort of selling to intermediaries and all that sort of stuff. So that's the sort of guide of where I'm at today. So it's a world apart almost from where I was before.
That sounds really impressive, Alan. When was the last time you were in a boat?
Gosh, actually, when was the last time? Do you know what? It's been more than a year. I'm trying to think now. It would have been potentially, it was 2017. I think was the last time I took a stroke in anger was Henley Town and Vets, TMV. Sorry, Henley TMV. In 2017, the summer 20. So that was the last time there was a stroke in anger from me. So it's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. So do you keep up with all the developments in what's happening in rowing? I mean, I'm thinking the latest sort of development in the British national squad to do with Jurgen Grobler. Are you sort of?
It's hard not to. I mean, where I live in Henley as well, it's sort of it's a small close, and pretty much any rower has lived here at some point in their lives, and so there is still quite a few national team rowers here. And so I do see a few of them. So the forwards are here, like at either end of the close in different houses. John Collins is here. So yeah, I sort of see now and again, and I sort of go, what's the gossip, what's going on, sort of thing, and all that. So yeah, no, I was aware of obviously some of those developments as well, and obviously I think even now I'm sort of hearing things about, you know, the setup that they've got between Caversham and Longridge as well. And so, yeah, it's strange times, should we say? And I know we were talking about this just before you went live, and it's just, you know, this is something that nobody could have predicted. You know what's going on right now, and I think it's very, very tough on the athletes and coaches, and, you know, just in terms of national setups and all that sort of stuff. But it's great to see that we are now back racing European Championships, you know, this weekend.
I know, and that's going to be fantastic. I think they're putting the finals out live on TV on the Sunday. Unfortunately, I'm not commentating, but they've got Peter O'Hanlon and Kat Holloway commentating.
You know, it'll be tainted because you're not commentating, Marty. You know, so it's like, but it's still good that something's getting out there. So stuff. And I think, you know, I think also, you know, people are craving sport. They want to sort of see something, you know, that other than sort of like these sort of very stilted sort of football matches, albeit I think it's very interesting with having no audiences for football for a change. It sort of seems to be open season on the goals. So it does, not good if you're a Liverpool or Man United supporter, but, you know, still it's still making sort of changing the way in which I think competition and sport is happening as well. So it might be interesting just to see, you know, how that affects rowing as well.
Yeah. So what was your take on Jurgen Grobler? Because I think Steve Redgrave's been quoted in the Times as saying that this was a backward step, and he's talking about the British squad being complacent now.
Yeah.
In terms of,
I was expecting that there would be a new coach, like a new sort of appointment. So somebody from possibly another national team setup come in to be the new head coach. And I could appreciate the fact that, you know, if you were coming in and you'd sort of had that contract in, you know, to come straight in after 2016 previously, then you wouldn't want to be in the shadow of the previous of the previous head coach. And so it would be that thing of the clean break was to be there. That was my initial reaction. The timing does seem very suspect. You know, it does seem odd that they would leave the squad in this sort of manner. And well, from what I can see, and albeit I am outside, so it is just purely a layman's point of view and everything else. And, you know, I'm not under any disillusionment. You know, I am a million miles away from it now. You know, one side left and everything else and stuff. So it's just more, again, you know, sort of personal opinion. But it doesn't feel there's any sort of natural leader within the coaching squad wanting to come forward. And I appreciate, you know, it's a poison chalice. Who wants to pick up after, you know, the record that Jurgen's had and take responsibility for, you know, what may not be as equal a set of results as previous. And so it's, you know, but it's a shame because I think, you know, there is the opportunity to get something out of that. I mean, I don't understand why Steve wasn't poached or asked to come in as sort of like performance director for British rowing. You know, and I don't know Brendan, so it's not a case of nothing against him, but I'm there going, Steve's had a huge impact on China. And, you know, what he's done there with the setup there, he's had obviously a huge impact on what's going on with Henley Royal Regatta. And it's the whole thing, I think he's got the foresight to be able to get good people, put them in the right place. Tom Kay, for example, with the men's double, the double. I mean, you know, that's a stroke of genius in some ways. But, you know, I remember Tom racing in 2003, winning the silver in Milan. I was there as a spare. And it was just, you know, I'm there going, you know, there's a guy that just, he knows and lives and breathes rowing. What a great appointment to put him in with all of his experience, you know, in with and, you know, Lang Zhang, who's like the stroke of that Chinese double, he's been around for years. And stuff. I remember racing him in the single, you know, many times. He's made A finals, he has. And I think it just took someone like Steve to kind of sort of inject a bit of culture or a bit of, you know, just like, this is the way it's going to be done. And then, you know, they're breaking records on the ergos, all that sort of stuff. I think it would be good to have seen someone like him come in and have some more influence on the squads as well. And actually, that's who I was sort of thinking. Has this been laid out for Steve to come in now as chief coach, and not as in a way of like, we don't want Jurgen there. It's just a case of we got somebody new and we're only going to pay one chief coach, and that was it, sort of thing. But no, it seems odd to me. So it does.
I mean, I've been hearing that there was, some athletes obviously love Jurgen, and maybe they were the people in the 8 that were sort of pre-selected, but some of the athletes didn't particularly get on with Jurgen, and there was a split within the athletes. And Brendan Purcell, the performance director, he wants, I guess it's no secret, he wants a different kind of culture. They got rid of Paul Thompson, so I think culturally they're aiming for something different. But
when you're inside a system like British rowing or elite sports in certain ways, you start to accept certain things as being the norm. And not only that, when you turn up to go to training, you're made to feel quite average. And the fact is that you are average in that small pool of athletes. You're turning up and you're sitting next to Mo pulling, or Tom George pulling sub 540 for a 2K ergo. Something that is superhuman in that respect. You then are, and you're just in a very sort of elite setup. And there becomes a point where it's sort of, that things are just accepted for the way they are, and you kind of take that on. And I would say that this is now starting to be seen. I don't think it is actually acceptable, and it's now being seen by wider, the wider sort of state and the landscape of sport, that it isn't acceptable. So it's not, in terms of what was going on inside. Currently British gymnastics have a crisis on their hands. In terms of they have athletes that have felt that they have not been that have been bullied, haven't been treated right, which has to be dealt with, and I hope that they do deal with it swiftly rather than draw it out, sort of thing. The way it was done in the USA with their gymnastics was not acceptable, and the fact that it just went on and that there was rumors and murmurs of something going on. And I kind of think that, and I also then have all the stuff that's coming out about British cycling. I mean, the stuff every day about the doctor, you're there going like, this is a guy that was in a position of a trusted sort of position of authority, and it sort of seemed like his whole life was sort of crumbling down around him. And I appreciate the fact that he probably needed help in some ways, but at the same time, it's not up to then those athletes to be able to sort of carry him, or a management team as such to have carried whatever was going on with him in that sort of respect, and to be in that sort of position. So whether or not that was as a result of the system or whatever, something does need to change. And I would say I was never the biggest fan of Jurgen, but he was the chief coach and he was the mastermind behind a very successful period. He had very good athletes, there's no doubt about that. I think the way that it was with me, I was very independent. I was a single sculler, obviously. I struggled sometimes where it was a case of I felt I was being treated with the same brush as, say, somebody in the 8. And my only gripe about that is that it was a case of I'd come in after a session, my lactate would be higher, and I'd be like, well, yeah, because I was rowing for another minute and a half longer than the 8. So I said, stop me at a minute and a half before and take my lactate then. Or then it was sort of like, the 8 are doing 24K, so you do 24K. And I'm like, well, but no, it takes me longer. I have to go further. And there was a few little bits and pieces of, where I just was like going, it doesn't affect anyone else in my crew. And I'm there going, I know that I can get more out of myself if I do it in this way, sort of thing, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now, I did hear, it's sort of, if you were bullied at school, and when you eventually stood up for yourself, it would be as a result of the fact that bully did that. but you wouldn't then come back 10 years later and go, oh, I want to thank you for bullying me all those years, sort of thing. And there's a little bit of that that I think Jurgen was sort of, he had a position of authority in part, and he wielded that. He wielded it to quite good effect in terms of some, the results that he got, but it didn't suit for everyone. And I wasn't one of the people that necessarily suited that way, sort of thing and stuff. In terms of, I never needed to be told to go out and bull harder. I never needed to be told, if anything, I needed to be told to pull back a little bit. And times he did do that to me. But it was one of those things of, I wanted to feel really, really trusted. And that was how you got the most out of me. And it was one of those things of, when I had the guys come over to do like the Great Eight or like the Force Head with the quads that I did, what was really good about those situations is we all trusted each other implicitly. That's why they were so enjoyable. That's why in my house, sort of like in our living room, the only thing I actually have up in terms of memorabilia is a picture of the Great Eight rowing in the head of the Charles. And it's the one of us, the hero shot with us rowing through the snow. And then, you got a picture of the side of the boat. You can see all the flags and all that sort of stuff. That for me was the greatest experience, rowing with the best guys in the world, and just being part of something that was just very, very special. And it was just, a perfect sort of coming together. And so that got me excited. Now I appreciate, if you'd have been doing it day in, day out, it would have ground down a bit, sort of thing. And it can't just be exciting all of the time. But it was one of those things that, I felt like I had to justify myself every day with Jurgen. And I think that does definitely work for a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
It didn't always get the most out of me. And it's not a case of, I'm not here going, I wish ill or anything like that and stuff. But I think possibly what Brendan's looking to do is possibly the right thing in terms of, let's create a new sort of collaborative culture with the athletes. I think the athletes have now more power than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to get something out of an athlete, you have to listen to them. You have to, give them the opportunity to have some input. Don't get me wrong. There's some that do need a kick now and again, so they do. And everything else, very talented athletes as well that sometimes just need that little nod. Matt Langridge, I'll say no more.
Alan, Peter Haining's just tuned in, and I don't know if you can see the comments, but he's pointed out your blade surface area was 104 compared to an 8's blade of 54. And Andy Hodge has tuned in, he said if you agree that rowing in an 8 was better than a single, and your comment about the Great Eight, and rowing is better than sculling, smiley face.
No. Sculling is the king of sports and stuff. There's and it's not a case of a generalization. And I'm not sort of, it's not black and white by any means, but I would say there are those athletes that tend to be more extrinsic and intrinsic. So the extrinsic, are driven on by the desire to be the best and to be, to be on the podium, to have that medal, win at all cost, and very much want to be seen to be a winner, to be a champion, this, that, and the other. Those that are on the intrinsic, and I would say that I was, I can be an extrinsic personality, but in a boat, I'm very intrinsic. And it was the whole thing of, I loved the sound that the boat made. I could feel the difference of vibrations between, just a normal sort of metal fin and a carbon, shaped fin, so good and stuff. I could feel the difference that made on the bottom of the boat and how it vibrated differently. And there was the feeling of freedom of being in a single. It is like no other. And when you can get that boat moving, and it's like when people say you get the boat to sing, it genuinely is the greatest feeling, and it drives you on to want to do more and to go harder and to go faster and to do that. And it was just being out in a single is the most exciting things and stuff, because it feels like you're taming wild horses, and being in that sort of side by side racing and knowing that these guys are the best in the world was just the greatest feelings it was and stuff, you know, and doing that. And so it was great to be in that 8 because I was with other very like-minded people. If anything, you know, we shared more in common with each other than we did necessarily with our sort of other peers within our own sort of national team setups. And so it was just that whole thing of we were able to just get all those egos in a boat and just, you know, set stuff aside to just go and do what had to be done and do that. So that for me was like a great feeling to be part of that team. And I did enjoy being part of the British team, loved being part of that, but doing the single was just, it was the greatest thing. It was the most special. And it's just, when you get that boat singing and moving and it's you and that connection between you and the water, I don't know, it was just, that's what drove me on. And that's where I could come, you know, last in races and be satisfied because I was there going, do you know what? I had a really good row and I did everything that I could do. The people were better than me. I could come in the medals, I could be on a podium, and I could be massively dissatisfied with the result because it's not a case of I just didn't row well, I didn't do it right, you know, all that sort of thing. I'm thinking 2012 in Munich, I got a bronze, and I think I came home and I don't even know where that medal is. I was one of those things that I just was like, I rode so badly. I think I was quite, you know, wasn't quite 100% of myself, but just everything about that weekend was just a really bad weekend. And it stuck out to me. And I was just like, I'm never going to let that happen again. Wow. And then I had to turn that around to still keep the bronze when it came to London in 2012. Sort of thing. So
well, we're going to talk about that racing a little bit later.